before we jump into it, we have the opinion from a former police officer. There are many more cases of unreported rape cases that most may know, and I don't have any problem saying like I feel like that is absolutely the case.
Yeah.
Most rape cases I feel are probably unreported.
And I know
Probably.
personally, even before Me Too, right? Like when I was in high school and afterwards, girlfriends or friends that I had that one girl for sure that was like roofied and somebody attempted to assault her.
Jesus.
And 2 or 3 girls that I know personally that had been raped or sexually assaulted just in those years, you know what I'm saying? That had not, it was not, whatever, I'm not going to qualify, but they had not sought legal action after that, you know?
Twisted.
Happens all the time.
Yeah, and listening to, like, for lack of a better word, testimonials from people that have gone through that.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me in the least.
Yeah.
Because, and it's so understandable. You go, yeah. Why would I want to bring up all that trauma?
Right.
And then have to deal with that for years on end through litigation and criminal trials and all that. That is rough, man. Rough.
Yeah.
All right, so let's
play both these clips and then we'll talk about why these are both ridiculous, stupid fucking takes.
check. Buckle up, everybody, for some crowd reaction.
Your argument, AOC, is that people don't always know when they're pregnant. Okay, look, how about this? All we're saying is that you can avoid killing a child. We're going to ask you to test a little bit more regularly if you are having sex. That's it.
Well, that's the goalpost.
It's so
move.
inconvenient.
It went from safe, legal, and rare to on-demand, taxpayer-funded period, and it went to you're putting women's health in danger, and now it's well, I may not know I'm pregnant. I'm sorry. Do you really just want to live your life with no accountability or responsibility? Mismenstruating person, ally? Okay.
Pee on a stick.
Yeah.
It'll tell you. There'll
But
be a line.
I can't. It burns. Well, cranberry juice, I recommend. According to the American Pregnancy Agency, most women find out they're pregnant during weeks 4 through 7.
Okay.
Now, they haven't measured just saying, 6. So, in other words, there's a good way to find out before this. And if a woman is trying to get pregnant, they know significantly before then. And if a woman is having sex, engaging in sexual activity that could result in pregnancy, I don't think that it's too much to ask for a woman to be responsible to do some checks.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, there's a limited window for when you can get pregnant. Like, it is truly a miracle when these things happen. I know couples and friends who have tried for months and months and months and months and not been successful at this. And so it's not like we're talking like you can just have sex anytime during the month and that's going to happen, right? So it is a limited window. And all we're saying is take some personal responsibility and just check. That's it. If you had sex last night, check in a few days. I don't know exactly
personal
how long you have.
responsibility.
Maybe take a week. See what happens. Pee on a stick a couple of times, and you don't have to buy like the fancy 15.
I don't know what it takes. He says, okay, so this highlights a take that I would never lay forth, but highlights why it's an understandable thing to hear, especially from I'm not going to qualify it too much, but especially like from like a young left-leaning woman, right? It's like, if you don't menstruate, you don't have the right to make legislation on this. That's exactly why they say shit like that, is because that's the dumbest, that's some of the most uninformed shit I have ever heard biologically from people who have hundreds of thousands of views every time they make an episode, right?
It's the same exact argument, but 180 from the point where, like, well, you're a man, you don't have any say in the matter.
Exactly, yes.
It's the same argument, just flipped on its ass.
And I'm not a woman, I cannot lay out exact timelines, right?
Don't you mean birthing person?
I couldn't do it, right? You definitely cannot have sex and then take a test a few days later and it will tell you if you're pregnant. That is not how it works. Not at all how it works, right? The most expensive tests, because I have purchased many of them, right? The ones you buy in the store, like $25. And those are the ones that are like, tells you 10 days before your missed period. So 15, I think, it's 10. It's 10 days before your missed period, right?
So that's basically like a 3-week type deal.
You have 3 weeks at the earliest, right? And that's only if your periods are regular, which a lot of women are not,
Yeah,
right?
various birth controls cause various
Again, I
cycle
don't know what
rotations.
percentages are. There are a million factors that could adjust your periods to make them irregular, have them more than once. Jordan has had 2 in a month before, gone a month like without being pregnant. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So this 6-week window, this ideology, this idea that especially they're putting forth here and in Texas that like, oh, you definitely know within 6 weeks. You definitely don't know. You don't definitely know within 6 weeks,
Yep.
right? You can. You certainly can. Almost definitely, or definitely you can. You
could.
Right? Definitely could.
The possibility exists,
But it is not guaranteed that you will.
and
right?
it's probably not normal.
No. And so that idea being pushed forward is completely false. Not completely false, but
It's completely
it's
disingenuous.
at least 2.5 Pinocchios. At the very
Two and
least.
a half
At least 2.5 Pinocchios. That's no good.
Out of
That's
3?
yeah. That's not true.
No.
You know? There are I have at least half of the girlfriends that I've had. Again, totally anecdotal. At least half the girlfriends that I've had have complained about irregular periods because of their birth control, their whatever. It could be fucking preservatives or chemicals and shit in all the food that you eat. Like there's
Yeah. And the
any
problem
number
is
of
we
things.
can't even tell you what types of things may cause that in
No.
a female because we just the data isn't there.
No. And for anybody who's never seen Crowder before, right? Crowder is very conservative. Very, very conservative. He's not a libertarian. He's very Republican, very conservative, right? So the other thing...
Mid-sized government conservative.
The other thing that I found so fucking hilarious about this, right, is their turn to, is it too much to ask for you to take a little bit of personal responsibility if you're going to be having sex, right? And you and I talked a little bit before the show that the only time that I could think that it's only a woman's responsibility to find out and know whether or not she's pregnant or needs to be concerned is if that woman is completely independent and is like casually dating with multiple partners in which those people are not, in any type of committed relationship. Like that's at that point and not to disqualify anybody else, but it's, you know what I'm saying? It's very personal. It's not that.
And it doesn't remove the responsibility from, let's say, this female individual is doing whatever she wants to do and is having non-committed relationships with six guys.
Multiple
Right?
partners, we'll say.
It doesn't remove an ounce of responsibility from each and every single one of those men
No.
that is deciding to undergo this experience with this person and not protect themselves from the liability of possibly impregnating this woman.
And so the idea they put forth of like take personal responsibility for this action that's taking 2 people at the time, I find very odd and seems contradictory to most of the things that are spoken about on Steven Crowder's show. I found it very, very odd.
Because when it comes to the abortion, a decent amount of folks, including Crowder, there's no wiggle room in their mind. Abortion equals murder, period,
Right.
full stop to them. And so that's one of the issues for them, that they can essentially, like I said before, throw out as many disingenuous arguments as they want because they just fully believe that, like, I don't care about the circumstances. Whatever
Right.
you're doing, you're committing murder, period, full stop. And that's protected by the Constitution. That unborn zygote at the time, that thing that will, in most cases, become a human life, you're cutting that off.
Right.
And that, to them, is murder. So then they feel free to make any kind of disingenuous, hyperbolic argument that they want against it. And as we just saw, they do.
Right.
And it is so sad because it does run completely contradictory to everything else that they're saying they stand for, saying
Right.
that they follow through on. It's like, well, in this case, my moral values hold true, and I can't make an exception in this case. But this is the one. There's just one.
Right.
There's just one, and then so this is the one you're going to give yourself a pass on, and no one else. There's
And
no
if-
one else.
Right. And I feel very confident that if men got pregnant, right, and Steven Crowder
Yes.
were then in this position in which he was going to have to spend money out of his own pocket to test regularly because he couldn't do exercise right, whether or not he agreed with it or not, he could totally still be a pro-life woman, right? So even if he didn't agree with that, now you have no choice. You have to test all the time, and you have to pay for them. I don't see a world where he would have no problem with that at all.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, it's fine. They're only $1, right?
Yeah.
I can buy one at the dollar store. It's no problem.
Yep. You forget
I can buy them
the
in
foundational
bulk.
principle.
Yes.
And then it's all anecdotal
Yeah,
bullshit.
and I think that that's absolute nonsense. And because his wife is assumingly pro-life, right? It's no problem. They don't have to worry about that because they're going to do it anyway. You know, it's no skin off of their back. I think that that's bullshit. And neither of us are Medicare for all type folk, you know, but
I might be more into it than you are, maybe.
I'm certainly uncomfortable with the idea of requesting that women take on the cost, however little or large it may be, to test as regularly as necessary, and the government does nothing about it.
What is
I
the
think
difference?
That's bullshit, right?
What's the difference between that and his stance on mandatory vaccinations or weekly testing, which he is vehemently against, because you're putting an undue burden on the individual to go
burden
and do
on the
that
individual.
thing.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's $1. Just like he said when he talks about the take-home tests.
Yes.
I don't care how much they are. It's still something you should not have to do. It's a burden you shouldn't put on the individual.
Yes.
You're contradicting yourself here fully. And yeah,
it's wrong.
It's wrong.
It's very wrong.
Yes.
And it concerns me. Last night when we were watching, that video that I pulled those clips from had like 660,000 views, right?
And how many likes?
Like,
mostly.
Yeah. So that's
probably 10, 15,000.
The idea that a genuinely, actually uninformed view is being taken in. And I'm not like, cancel Steven Crowder, because I watch a show, right? Yeah. So obviously I'm not saying cancel him, but it concerns me that I'm not concerned about his influence, but that he is fucking wrong.
Yeah.
And he is so readily expressing it like that's the truth, right? Well, when it's so easily to verify that it's false.
I would not have a problem
with
his stance on it. I would disagree with his stance on it, but I wouldn't have a problem with him standing by it and spreading it. I wanted to use a different word, but it didn't come to me.
Spread it like COVID.
If he would carry that ethical and moral logic forward to other aspects of other issues that he deems that he wants to talk about.
Right.
If you kept the same foundational logic here that you had over here for like the COVID mandates and shit like that, if you were able to keep that stance and then keep that stance together as one, you might have a coherent argument, and I would disagree with you, but I wouldn't be saying it's a bad take.
Right.
Because you stand by that. That's what you believe. That's what you... I keep trying to say the P word, but I don't know. It's like proclamate or whatever. I don't know.
Prognosticate? Is that your word?
I don't know.
Proselytize?
Spread around.
Yeah.
You know.
Preach?
Sure. We'll go with that.
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. If you're going to practice what you preach on this issue, but fundamentally it's the same issue as far as individual rights are concerned over here for COVID, the two are contradictory, and now I don't believe you on anything anymore, because now I can't tell what you actually mean, what you're actually trying to stand behind. All I know now is that you've staked your flag in this fucking camp, and now you're just a campy. You're just I'm on Team Red. This is my stance. Boom, move on. Don't worry about that it doesn't make sense here, but it makes sense over here. That's why it's a bad take. It's not a bad take because I disagree necessarily maybe with the foundation of whatever it is that he's saying. Here I do. But fundamentally, the argument you're making is contradicted by every other argument you make.
Right.
And